Check it out, check it, check it out, check it, check it out, check it.
Hey, Greg and the CE, call me hip hop junkie. Straight to your dome piece like Brass Monkey. All I wanna know, do you wanna get funky?
First episode of the new White Hot Way podcast. Got Anthony and Harry here. How are you both?
Yeah, very well, thanks. Very well.
All good here as well.
So we've got Tottenham's summer so far, the season ahead and players to watch. So I reckon we'll start with the first. So Tottenham's summer so far. Let's go with Harry. Let's go a little what you feel about the summer so far out of 10 and just a bit about it.
I'm really happy. In terms of what we've done to this point, it'd be like a 9, 10 out of 10. It's a little bit different if the window closes. I'm thinking maybe more of a 8 out of 10. But based on what we've done in the time frame, I think is incredible. And I can't remember any other season, any other transfer window where, we're presented with Fernandes and Tonali and we signed both. I felt that if we signed one would be incredible. So to sign both for me speaks volumes as to the lesson learned. And I think staying up last year was just absolutely huge for so many reasons, but even bigger than and I'm sure plenty of others thought as well. So, yeah, Will, to answer your question directly, I've been over the moon. I think it's incredible the summer we're having. To improve the defence, to improve the midfield, it's been fantastic. And we've also got a load of options in midfield to the point where we're forgetting about some players. Some of us might forget about Sarr, forget about Gallagher in the nicest way possible because we've got Fernandes, we've got Tonali. Tonali being your engine room, a household name, I like to call him, the all-round midfielder. Fernandes, more of what we don't currently have, or we didn't have, I should say, before signing him in terms of the passing ability. So I'm really, really excited. And for me, we're only 1 or 2 players away from attack of achieving something quite special. And that's not me saying, let's win the quadruple. And I'm not saying that. I'm saying to take a gigantic leap, considering he finished 17th last year. So, I'm very, very happy. I'm an optimistic fan anyway. I will make that clear. But I've loved what I'm seeing. And long may it continue. Business done early, proper signings that other clubs are jealous of. And you speak to fans of any club, particularly the top clubs, and they're worried about us. I think we should shockwaves from signing both Tonali and Fernandes. I'm loving it. I'm loving the tears from other fans.
Yeah. What about you, Anthony?
Just like Harry, I'm buzzing. Honestly, I've been a Tottenham fan for a long time. And, I've been waiting for a transfer window like this. Honestly, it's great to hear that you're linked with players, but when you actually see that video on the Spurs official, Twitter page or X, shall I call it, or Instagram, and they're actually being welcomed into the club, then you go, all right, this is the real deal. We've gone about our business in a structural way in terms of working from the back, pushing up towards the front. We've got some real solid signings, and no matter how many teams want to sort of come for us and go, you've overpaid, this is the market. This is the absolute market, that we're playing in. And, when Declan Rice was signed by Arsenal, people were saying the same thing, he was overpaid. But what happened? He turned out to be a decent player for them. Tonali will be the same. Tonali will be a top quality player for us. We've got deep quality centre-backs who will compete with each other. There'll be a constant battle. We've got a great manager who's going to bring structure into the club. And honestly, I'm buzzing to see what more signings we can put in place and how far we can push up the table. So, yeah, I'm really happy with that.
I've got a question for Harry Scarfe here. So I've just got a notification. So from David Ornstein, Newcastle make offer for Lucas Bergvall. So £46 million turned down. So rejected. Spurs have rejected all bids. So thoughts on that, please?
Well, that's a proper raw reaction, isn't it? Just coming through. I love that. So you can't say that we planned for this. Interesting. I didn't see that coming, really, because you just had Forest. But Newcastle have had an awful windows. They do need to sign players. Like the fans will... There's going to be unrest, isn't there, from Newcastle point of view, when they've lost Gordon. It could lose Guimaraes to Arsenal. Of course, lost Tonali to us. It's all going a bit wrong for them. And you're even hearing players like... I call them fringe players. They're players that are decent but not incredible. The Murphys of this world, they also could be leaving as well. So they need to do something. So I suppose it's not surprising when you think about it. It's a good offer in terms of what you hear. If you believe the reports that Tottenham are looking for 45 to 50 million, so if Newcastle to come in for 46 million is interesting. I think whatever we do with this deal, it's difficult because we don't know what's happening behind the scenes. If Bergvall wants to leave, which it appears Vuskovic did, as you saw, the video joining Brighton, etc., then you don't want players that don't want to be here because ultimately it's not healthy for the dressing room, right? De Zerbi's going to want to needs to want him for me, and if Bergwijn doesn't want to be here, those are two factors that would determine my decision within the club. But however we go about the deal, let's say we do sell him. If you said, Will, to me, Harry, look, Bergwijn's going to leave. For me, it's very important, I think, that we get like a sell-on clause, because I think Bergwijn's got a very, very high ceiling compared to some of the players we could let go. Vuskovic, I think we all like him, but we never really know if he's going to work out in the Premier League. Hamburg are 13th in the Bundesliga. I think Bundesliga is not as good as the Premier League, to state the obvious. You just don't know with that. So I'm more in favour of that. Whereas with Bergwijn, like the Swedish royal family, for example, say is once in a generation gem, in their own words. There's a lot of hype about Bergwijn. If you go to Sweden, right, and I know he didn't play a lot for the Swedish national team, the irony of that. So I think for Tottenham, if we can get 50 million fixed fee and like a 20-25% sell-on clause, I think then we're talking that's a good deal. It's difficult because we don't know what Bergwijn's saying. If he's like, I want to get out of here, I want minutes, which I think he probably is, because I believe he's mismanaged and misprofiled last year, particularly under Thomas Frank, but also Igor Tudor. So if that is the case, then it might be best to let him go. But, well, although we need to focus on winning now and we're doing that, it's difficult to how far you go with in terms of the young players, / potential talent you lose. Because I think if you get rid of, I don't know, or let's say top academy players leave and there is reports that some start to will, then you ask the questions, are we neglecting the future just a little bit? But it's a nice position to be in to ask that question, because we've only ever thought about the future. Last 2 or 3 seasons has been like, oh, let's set the team up for 5 years' time, and then neglected now. Hence why I believe 2 back-to-back 17th place finishes, but last year being in a real relegation battle. But to answer your question, Bergwijn, I'd be open to selling him as much as I like him, but Tottenham have to be clever with the deal in terms of business perspective, just like we were with Vuskovic, matching rights, sell-on clause. I think we can get more for Bergwijn. There might be a bidding war between Forest and Newcastle. Bring it on, because it's going to raise the value for him.
Yeah. Anthony, what do you feel about this? And mainly also Vuskovic, 2 very promising youngsters leaving because they just didn't want to be at the club. What do you think?
It's a difficult one because I think with Vuskovic, I think from a young age he's always been sent out on loan, and with Tottenham, he got brought in, he got sent out on loan a few times. Obviously, he understands the services that he can add to a team. He's hyped around Europe, but I think with Vuskovic he wants a place where he can call home. I think that's where he's at, and who knows what's been said behind the scenes. We don't know if he was told that he was going to break into the Tottenham team the following season and things didn't work out, etc. But I think Brighton will be a good place for him. I think that obtaining 50 million for him and plus sell on, I think that's great for a player that's never played for Tottenham in a competitive capacity. With Bergwijn, I like him a lot. Quality player, very talented. I think the issue with Bergwijn is now he came in and started playing first team football from the off. Whereas I think in any normal situation, he would have been back up to somebody more experienced and eased his way in. He came in and he had a few substitute appearances, then he just basically started playing. And he had a great first season, swept up on all the awards, etc. And then, we've obviously had 2 back-to-back 17th place finishes and he's had injuries. And then we've got to this point now where a manager who's coming, he's going, this is exactly what I want. And he's like, oh, am I going to get enough minutes? And, it's rightfully so for him to ask that question, because every player wants to know if they're going to get minutes. But I'd love for him to say, I'm going to stay, I'm going to knuckle down, I'm going to work hard, I'm going to push Tonali, I'm going to push Fernandes, I'm going to show De Zerbi, prove to the fans that I can work hard for my space and earn it on merit. I'd love to, I don't want to see him in a Nottingham Forest shirt or a Newcastle shirt, but if he does go, just like Harry said, we do need to be smart with the deal. We do need to be a bit like Chelsea. Chelsea, practically every time they sell one of their youngsters, it's always got sell-on fees, etc. So they're always generating income every year for some sort of player. So I think, just like Harry said, I have to agree with him. We have to be smart and clever with the deals that we make.
Yeah. And I'll give this one to Harry. So obviously we heard about Savinho, how kind of the club have green-lighted they want Savinho now, and obviously he wants to move. Thoughts on that? Well, I'll also just give a bit of input before. Remember when I heard the news, was it January or last summer, was it? Yeah, last summer we heard the news that we were interested in him. I thought this was huge. Tottenham don't really go for these kind of players, these Savinho type players. That was last summer when we had nothing really. And then now, I don't know why, it just feels like he's not really the player we want, a third choice Man City winger, if we've been going for these big names in midfield.
It's interesting. Well, I'm someone that doesn't like to do 50-50s or sit on the fence, like in the middle, but this kind of breaks my own belief in terms of I am very much, at this moment anyway, in the middle. And part of me looks at it and goes, you're right. He's been linked to at least one, if not, it's my memory, if it serves me correctly, 2 windows, one a lot more than the other, you rightly say, Will. So it's an old target popping up, whereas I believe that a majority, if not all, of our targets are outdated in terms of we're always linked with the same player, and it's never ambitious enough. It's always like you get the top clubs, it's never their first option, never their second option, and that is my complaint about it. And I look at the City attack, and it is worth noting before I make my point, the City's attack is superb, but I don't think Savinho is anywhere near the best that they've got there, right? There's others I would prefer, being honest with you. I mean, we've got to this position where we are being greedy, to be fair, but like a Marmouche, I would absolutely love. So Savinho, I look at it, Will, and I look at it very simply and go, is he better than what we've got? Yes. Does he improve our attack? Yes. But can we do better? Yes, as well. So that's the thing. And it's very easy to sit here after 7 signings and go, we want more, like I'm doing here. But in reality, again, Savinho would be an improvement what we've got. But by the same token, and I think they have changed, and we are changing, and lessons have been learned, if they've really been learned. And this ownership in particular want to win back the trust of the fans. That's where going, look, can we do better than Savinho? Like City rate, apparently anyway, Marmouche high, rate Doku a lot higher if we're going to go down that City route. Or like, just if you are to ask me personally, Leao I'd much rather, but Savinho I would take, if that makes sense, because it's an upgrade on what we've got. But it's all down to, I hate to be that person, but it's all down to what the manager wants. If De Zerbi's like, let's get Savinho, why not? Why not? Because if De Zerbi sees something in the player, he's more likely to get more from him, and execute, really his potential. Because he disappointed me last year at City. His numbers are not only mediocre but very bad. But by the same token, at Girona, superb with Xavi Simons. Actually, where he played there, his first season at City, much better than his second. And he seems to be wanting the move, liking, I don't like to look into all that stuff too much, but liking all the Spurs posts, particularly new signings, that here we go. Xavi's clearly pushing for it to happen. I reckon he is as well behind the scenes. So it makes sense, Will, but we can do better. But it could be Savinho and one other. So who am I to moan? So to be honest with you, I'd lean on to the side of, at the moment, yeah, why not? The price is key. Because we've had prices before, didn't we? 85 million. He's not worth that. Nowhere near that. If we can get that price, half that price, then why not? We're talking.
I mean, I saw earlier, I forgot who the journalist was, but I saw 65 million being kind of floated around. And Anthony, how do you feel about just, what's happening? Why this window? Why have we got soon, hopefully, to be the 3 biggest transfer signings ever in one window, 2 of the biggest in the same kind of 5 hours?
I think for me, the ownership, I think the ownership got a massive warning with everything that's happened. The 217 place finishes, under Levy, we always plan for the future. So we always got cut deals on young players, etc., try to bring them through, and we've brought some great players through in the past. But it's come to this stage where, in terms of profit and sustainability and that sort of stuff, we're in a good financial positions. And a lot of journalists have said that for ages. We're in a good financial position. Why don't we spend it, etc. Now that Levy stepped aside, obviously it's still the same ownership. We're basically catching up on the spending that we didn't do before. That's what I have in my head, that we're catching up on the spending that we didn't do before. We should have been spending on quality players from before, but we bought in a Solanke, then we're bringing in a couple of youngsters. Like, no, we need to go out and buy players. Liverpool spent 400 million or something close to that ridiculously last year. Now we're trying to catch up to do the same, and if we didn't do it, 100% next season we're getting relegated. But we had to spend the money to make sure that we're pushing ourselves well away from that relegation dogfight. It had to be done. And I think the owners have woken up and gone, we have to do it. My thing is now, we have a great window now, which is fantastic. But I'm not really too fussed about the January window, because January. We always know it's difficult to buy players, but are we going to come in with this same sort of aggression we've come in the window this time around? Are we going to do the same thing next year in terms of trying to get quality players? Now, I don't think we don't need to go from buy, 8 or 10 players, etc. But are we going to go say, cool, we need 3 quality signings, go aggressively and get those 3 quality signings next year? So I think this year it had to be done. Otherwise, I think, we lose sponsorships, we lose the fans. The fans won't, they'll give up their season tickets. People who've had season tickets for the best part of 20 years, etc. I think we'll start to see the club go down. So I think this is, it had to be done so everything can be saved, if you know what I mean.
Yeah. And Harry, what do you think about the outs? So I think we've just had one departure, which was Dragons on loan, pretty sure. And then obviously we've got Romero, who's kind of been, we know he's going to go. And yesterday there's some news broke about Richarlison, how the club kind of would like to get rid of him because he's only got a year left in his contract. So get rid of him, but he would like to stay. Just give me your thoughts on all that.
With Richarlison, let's start with that, right? We hear the same every single window. It's the same. Carbon copy. I would be surprised if it's not in the drafts on X every single year. And it's the exact words of Richarlison wants to stay at Tottenham. He wants to fight for his place, but Tottenham want to sell. Well, we hear this all the time, right? And reality is, I have nothing against Richarlison, but you have to make tough decisions if you want to get to that next level. And I hate to use them as an example, but Arsenal right now and why they're ahead of us in terms of they've won the Premier League, they're competing for a lot more, etc., etc. Like Trossard, right? That's a big gamble in terms of they lose a massive GA. He's a goal threat. It pains me to say it. I can say it. He's no longer an Arsenal player. It's a dangerous player. You think when he comes on, crikey, you keep an eye. He's going to score or he's going to get an assist, right? They took that gamble, a tough decision, but to go and get better. So it's worth it. So, some people say it'd be taking a risk to sell Richarlison because it leaves us with just Solanke. What if he gets injured? Blah, blah, blah. But then we should just take a risk, in my eyes. With all due respect to Richarlison, it was a poor signing, I think, at the time that we overpaid for. And we should just, for me, cash in now. And Richarlison's own words were, I will always remain at a club like Tottenham because I'm Brazil's number 9. And he kind of went on and on and on to say basically gives him the platform. Well, not only in this World Cup was he not Brazil's number 9, but he didn't even get a call-up for the World Cup. So he's, 5th, 6th in line for strikers. So I thought or hoped in the nicest way possible that would rejig, if you like, his thinking. It clearly hasn't. I mean, I like his passion, let's just say, and I like his fight. But that's the problem when you start accepting something like that. You have to go, is he going to get you more than 15 goals a season? No. No, it's as simple as that. And, to prove this is not just an anti-Richarlison agenda, which there will be some out there, let's be clear, Solanke as well. Although I would stick with him and make him even the starting striker because it's a dead striker market. He has to improve from now till January. A, he has to keep himself fit, and B, he has to score more goals. Because when he does, he actually looks really good. But Solanke will score a couple in a game, and we were nothing for 9 weeks. I know. It's just crazy. So... And it's a dead striker market, so we really need to be maximising what we've got. Can Tel become a striker? Can Lancashire be integrated? Again, I'm not saying these should be starting strikers, but I'm talking second and third options. We have to move on. Richarlison, William. I don't think we get a lot for him. I really don't. I think we're talking about 20, 25 million, but I'm just hoping that Ange Postecoglou will maybe want players like Richarlison, and it is Saudi, so the money's there. 60 million, Ange, would be lovely, but no chance, I don't think.
Yeah. What about you, Anthony? What do you feel about, let's just go Dragizin? And obviously his agent thinks he's a lot better than he is. But do you think we should just, hope he ends up staying at Fiorentina?
The way Dragison's agent is talking, you'd think he's pushing on Lionel Messi. Honestly, you really would think Lionel Messi, he's trying to sell Lionel Messi to the club. With his agent, obviously he likes to play a lot of games, etc. You can tell he's a bit of a wheeler and dealer. Dragison, I think him going to Fiorentina, I think that's the best move for him, best move for the club. Again, he's another one who sort of struggles for pace, and making it into the Premier League is different. It's difficult. You need players around you who are going to back you up in that sort of way. At the time when he came through, obviously it was under Ange. Was he technically good enough to play at Ange Postecoglou's system? No. Is he good enough to play Roberto De Zerbi's system? No. He's a good guy. You can see that he works hard. Obviously, unfortunately, he got that knee injury. But yeah, it was best for him and the club. You know, I was actually surprised that we're going to potentially get that much for him. But yeah, it's best for the club for him to go. In terms of Richarlison, yes, he needs to go. It's time. I'm done. I'm done with Richarlison. Again, I've never been a massive fan of him, but anyone who steps into our club, I'll always back them. But he needs to go. Again, we need strikers who are going to bang in the goals. Obviously, it's hard to live up to, you know, what we've had with Harry Kane. But I think what I'd love to see in terms of the forward line is just goals, even if it's the spread amongst them. Even if it is, you know, left winger, right winger, both getting, you know, close to 15 goals. The striker, again, 15 plus is better than what we've been doing so far. I think that's how it's going to probably be in terms of our attacking output. I don't think we're going to have a striker who gets us 20 plus goals a season. I think it is going to be literally around a 15 mark for each player spread across the line. You know, midfielders chipping in, and then we just build upon there. And who knows, you know, maybe over the next year we might be able to spot a gem that we go, this person could be, you know, the person who gets us the 20 plus. As you said, Harry, the striker market is dry. I couldn't tell you where we're going to find a striker for love nor money. So, yeah, I'll be interested to see.
Yeah. I mean, I think at Spurs we haven't really had a striker since Kane left, because in my eyes the striker gets the goals. You know, you're going to count on him. But it's only this season who got the most goals. I think was it Richarlison got the most.
I think it was 10 goals.
Wasn't many. Season before it was Brennan Johnson. Like, it's just not many. Brennan Johnson got a lot, but you know it's not the striker. So again, yeah, the striker market is nothing. So I really don't know what to do there. I don't think we can trust on Solanke or Richarlison personally. But who do we go for? There's Vlahovic, obviously a free agent, but I think his wages are like 400 grand plus. So that's just not happening. So not really sure what we should do there. But the next topic is the season ahead. So I'll ask Harry Scarfe of your, I think we have spoken to this on a previous podcast, but season ahead, what do you think is going to happen?
I hate to commit to this. I always get it wrong. I look back and think, oh my God, that is so far off, particularly the last 2 years. So goodness me. I feel like going low and, you know, surely anything is better than what I say at this point. But it's really difficult, Will, because my belief is that if we sign nobody else from now, I'm thinking about a fifth. But I'm just thinking a couple of the right attackers away, then, you know, I'm not saying we're going to win the league, just to make that clear before this gets clipped out of context, but I'm thinking like that can go up, you know, a little bit. Do you know what? I'm going to commit to it. I'm optimistic. I recognise that. And this is not, let me just state, right, because we see a lot in the media, both with England and Tottenham, you know, Spurs expect, you know, England expect, and I don't like that wording. For me, I believe that we can get third, but I'm not going to have a meltdown if we don't get third. For me, getting European football is the key, right? It's not Spurs must get third, because I know how this will be perceived by those that just come in halfway through I'm talking. So third for me, and I think we win a domestic trophy. But I recognise this is optimism speaking. Spurs play, if I watch this for 3 weeks, then, you know, it might be our 16th an improvement on last year. You just don't know, do you, is the reality. I think with the signings we've made, you don't sign Tonali and Fernandes if you're not aiming for European football. There's clear aim to get back in Europe, where we absolutely deserve. And I think we should be in, you know, the best that Europe's got to offer in the Champions League. The club deserves to be there. But it's about not only being in the competition, but competing to win it. That's the thing. I think this club for so many years, certainly since I've been following football in Tottenham, it's been about being in the competition. What an honour to be in the Champions League, rather than what an honour to try and win it. So that's something I want to not change now, but over time. So as much as it's nice to see the rebuild now, I've never really known a rebuild done in one window. Usually it's something you see over 2 or 3 years. So yeah, I'm not going to be crying again if we don't go and sign another 3 or 4 players. You know, that's the key. I'll just end with this, if you don't mind, Will. Like, it's all good having this window, and it's really, really good. But if we see no signings in January and no signings at all next summer, that'd be so Tottenham, then, how much have we learned? Do you know what I mean? This has got to be sustained. It's not me saying let's sign 9 players every window, or like we've done so far, 7 players. But it is saying let's keep this level of ambition, then we're talking. Because you have one good window and then nothing, that's no good. But yeah, third and win the Carabao Cup, he says, and this could come back to haunt me. So I pretend it never happened. I never said it. Raise it.
Oh man, Yeah, it's a mad one because I remember last year, obviously we got signed Thomas Frank, and I thought to myself, oh, he's going to steady the ship. If he got between 8th and 10th, I'm happy with that. We just finished 17th, so it's crazy. I don't want to overcommit, but I'm gonna say we're between 6th and 4th. That's where I think we'll do well in, and I think we will do well in one of the cups. Yeah, I think we could potentially get some sort of cup glory, and then between 6th and 4th, I'm going to commit to in terms of that.
Andy's a lot more sensible than me, may I just add, but he's more than likely going to be right. That's the sensible guy talking there.
Trying to think of what I think. I reckon.
I was going to ask you.
Yeah, not really sure because obviously last season I thought we were going to come. I remember speaking to a friend. It was the Man City game away, and I remember saying, "Oh yeah, come on, we got guaranteed Champions League football," and then obviously that came to haunt us. So I reckon I'm not going to go too brave here, but actually, no, the signings we got and what we're looking to get. I'll go with. Well, I'll say football terms: Europa League or Conference League. We're going to get Europe. I think Champions League is a bit of a push unless we have a good January. Obviously, that could happen, but January is quite hard to get a good January in, isn't it? So yeah, some sort of Europe. I think we can definitely do that. But also got to think if you got Johan Langer and Vinay, it's going to be quite hard to push that next step. We've got Roberto De Zerbi on his own. If it was him and some other two top guys, Champions League all day long. But
do you know what, Will? Sorry to interrupt, but isn't it funny that the conversations have stopped, haven't they, for now anyway, about Johan Lange, about Vinay, about Enoch, about the board? So, I mean, you just mentioned there, I'm thinking, oh, God, I was banging that drum, a few weeks ago. That's how good the window's been. We've forgotten about that. I'm not saying we've completely forgiven them, but do you remember at one point it felt like Lange was on the brink? Is he going to make it to tomorrow morning? And is he going to make it to the end of the week? Is it him or Starmer that's going to go first? That was seriously some of the things the Spurs were talking about at one point. It's funny, isn't it? How just a few signings can change things. I love it.
Yeah,
no, definitely. That's the thing that's crazy because obviously it was almost like he was going to be going to get his job seekers allowance from DWP, but like you said, a few good signings can change things. But I think everyone's just like happy the club's being proactive at this, at this stage, which is great. That's all we've asked for. Be proactive, spend the money wisely, because obviously we spent what, a bit, like just over £1 billion in terms of signings in the last 10 years or so. So you think to yourself, like, if we didn't make some of those signings and accumulated the money and put, we could have added it to wages, etc., we could have probably brought in some decent players. So yeah, hopefully, we're now seeing some good people on the team. There's that guy from Man City who's come in. Apparently, he's been involved with some of the discussions as well. So, hopefully we'll start to see additions to the board made, and it allows us to be put into a much better and a bit more less stress, anxiety situations, So, yeah, looking forward to it. Fingers crossed.
Yeah. I thought we'd also have a talk about, players, which players are going to be really good next season. And one thing would be quite the opposite, but I want to just bring up the goalkeeper situation. Again, I've spoken to Harry Scarfe about this before. How do you feel Kinski's going to do, Anthony? How do you feel Kinski's going to do under all the pressure?
Kinski. You know what? I do like Kinski. I really do. I think he's a good shot stopper. I think next year is going to be... I think he's going to be put on probation at the moment. So I think as the season goes along, he'll be obviously judged. By the time it hits January, it could be a case of Man City, we might go to Man City and go, we need to bring Trafford in, or he might get given until, the end of the, to the summer window. He is a good goalkeeper. He does offer what De Zerbi wants. I do feel like he can make these great, fantastic saves, but also he has some mistakes in him. And it's just whether De Zerbi will have the patience for him. And especially when money is involved, things do get a bit drastic sometimes. So I'm going to say, I think I like him. I think he will have a good season. I'm going to say good because I'm not going to turn around and say excellent. I think he's going to have a good season. And, if he can cope under the pressure of a relegation battle for those last 7 games and put in the performances that he did, why not? I think he will have a good season. So I'm happy with him at the minute.
What about you, Harry?
Yeah, my opinion hasn't changed, William, since I last spoke to you, and that is that it's worth making Kinski the number 1 if we can spend the money on and time. And I said at the time on improving the attack in midfield, but we've done the midfield in my eyes. And I didn't think, talking to you at the time, I remember talking to you and saying, look, if we just sign a Wharton or if we just sign a Fernandez, I mean, Tonali wasn't even in discussion at that point, and we signed Fernandez and Tonali. So that is absolutely incredible. So if you said to me, Harry, what's more important, the goalkeeper situation or the forward line, it is the forward line, because I think what we've currently got, without, I'm not trying to disrespect anybody, because they all have their unique qualities. Let's be clear about that. But it's not, for me, European worthy. That's what we want to get to. Like all you guys giving the predictions, mine's crazily optimistic. I recognise that. But even for, like William, you say their Conference League, I don't, is it possible with the attack we've currently got? Or the better question is the attack even worthy for that? Unfortunately, I don't think it is. That's the problem. And when you've got a dead striker market, I recognise it's difficult. But I think let's say you save 40, 50, even more than that million on a goalkeeper, and that allows you to spend that money, even if it means, one more attacker, I think is absolutely worth it. If we sign Krupi and Savinho, I'd much rather that than, Savinho and a goalkeeper. Let's just say, I hope you see what I'm trying to get at here in terms of Anthony's right and Kinski's put under that spotlight. I don't think he's going to have a 10 out of 10 a season where he's going to win the Golden Glove. Is going to be, oh my God, look how Kinski's smashing it. I actually think it'll be a case of Kinski's the number 1 in January. And Anthony said it there. I actually think Trafford comes in the January window. Even that's not necessarily saying that Kinski is going to go downhill for him. But I just think we've got to be realistic. And I was talking to someone today. They're like, we still need 4 more players. But I turned around and said 11 players in a transfer window. That's very rarely, if ever, done. So, we've got to be realistic. I never thought we'd be doing all of this in 1 window. 2 or 3 windows, I saw happening. Because that's the thing, you have 3 windows in a year. You've got the summer, January, and then the summer again in that year's time. So I thought that's what we'd see under De Zerbi, that in a year's time we'd kind of see this. So the fact we've done it so quickly, to me, is promising. But Kinski, I have faith in, William, but he's not going to be, he's not world-class keeper, but I think it's worth it because we need to improve the forward line. If we improve the forward line, then, and we still got the budget, we still got the time, why not? Why not? All I would say is that De Zerbi's been a big advocate throughout his career in having his players pretty much set for pre-season. And we've got that first game coming up really quickly against MK Dons. So that could be an indicator, maybe. Could a player come in the next week or 2? More than likely, we wait and sell Bergvall, spend the funds. It's difficult, isn't it? It's a waiting game probably now, but I'm just so glad that we're in position. Because if the window closed tonight, of course, it'd be frustrating not to improve the attack. As I said, I don't think he's good enough. But we're in a position where what we've done is actually really good for a window. Really good.
Yeah. I mean, I've got 2 things to say there. I get what you mean about the window. I've noticed De Zerbi's gone through stages. So he started at defender. Then he's now moved to the midfield. So hopefully he's going to the attack. We know he's going to the attack now. That's what we've heard on the news, which I think is very promising. And also bring up, again, they got the goalkeeper situation. I do think we could have pushed higher than Kinski. Yeah, he had a couple good games, maybe 4 or 5. I'm not going to say he's bad, but he had 4 or 5 really good games at the end of the season. But I'm just a bit nervous for a young player like Kinski. I do think we should have not world-class territory, but someone better than Vicario, which we know is not just judging them when it was really counted on. And also bring up, last season I didn't notice a problem in the defence, or we didn't let too many goals in, but it was just we never looked like we were going to score. Literally, from before De Zerbi came in, I didn't think, we're going to score. It just didn't look like it. There was no flair at the top of the pitch, absolutely nothing. So, that's my opinion. But I think we'd also bring on 2 players to watch. We just discussed Kinski. Anyone have any views on who we should talk about next? What player you think is going to excel the season coming up?
I think for me, Mohamed Kudus, I think if he's now back, obviously we've seen footage of him on the Spurs official training and vibing and all sorts, but if he is actually back, I think he's going to have a great season as De Zerbi. I think especially now that we've got the ball playing centre backs, we've got the ball playing midfielders who can, bait the press, etc. And I think if we think about going back to last season when Kudus was playing, there was many times he just wasn't getting that ball early enough. And by the time he gets the ball, he's already got 2 or 3 people trying to mark him out. What is he supposed to do? So I think what we're going to see is what, with the way De Zerbi wants to play, we will start to see balls into space, balls to feet. We're allowing to get into those 1v1 situations a lot more. I think we will start to see Kudus close enough to, or even, better than what he was at West Ham during their first season. More goals, more assists, and I think fans are going to get off their seats for him. I think Kudus is going to really excel under Zerbi. Another person I would also throw in the hat as well, but I know he's a bit further along in terms of his recovery, is Dejan Kulusevski. I think he's another Zerbi type player who will, again, thrive. Will he get back to his best? We don't know, especially after this long-term injury. And fingers crossed, he is able to come back at some point. There's talks about October potentially, but if he is back October, maybe December, January, he starts to get some minutes in. Who knows? But for now, Mohamed Kudus, I think he's gonna really enjoy working under Zerbi.
Yeah, I mean, I'll go to Harry next, but I feel Kudus is going to be feeling like a new signing. So I've kind of thought about him. He's definitely going to feel like a new signing, that promising player. You kind of forget, because I remember it was Reading away in the pre-season this time last year. His first game for Spurs was a friendly. He was just so rapid, so quick. And then obviously the 2 assists against Burnley, first game of the actual Premier League season. So I'm really excited to see him. And so Harry here.
Yeah, you're right to say that. And some of these players that either are back or coming back or will come back in the next few weeks and months will feel like new signings. But it's very important, I think, we don't place that expectation. Like when Kulu comes back as a prime example, right? He's not going to be, well, prove me wrong, I'd love him to, but he's not going to score a hat-trick and, the first game he's going to come back. It's going to take him some time with a big injury like that. And you have, for example, the Sweden national team doctor, who's the highest regarded doctor at all in Sweden, very highly rated as well around the world and very credited. When he's saying things like, I hope he plays football again. And he's meaning to be optimistic. And he's an optimistic person. That worries you a little bit. You're thinking, mate, I thought you were going to say, I believe he's going to play football in like 3 months, but rather than saying, just hope he plays football again, that just kind of, I think, gives you an impression for him, and it applies to others as well, that they're not going to come back firing. They might not ever be the same, like ACL in particular is a big one. Odebear, I believe, is a sufferer of that. Kudus, I think Anthony's absolutely right, and Will, you're right as well, he's probably the player I'm most excited watching. But another one, really, and people go, oh, no, Harry, you mentioned him again, but Pedro Porro, right? He's a player I think has been fantastic in this tournament. And Will, I know you'd be sick of me going on about Porro, so I do apologise. But I haven't heard from someone, though, that said he wasn't very, very good. I'm waiting to hear from a certain George. But on a serious note, listen, Porro's had a great tournament. And people would rightly say, Harry, yes, but tournament football isn't the same as club football. But I think he can really excel under De Zerbi. I think he's improved defensively. I think the narrative that he can't defend for Toffee is outdated now. It might have once been true, to be fair, but I don't think that's true anymore. Can he improve 1v1 defending? Yes. Would he be the first person I choose 1v1 defending? No, but I think De Zerbi can improve them, because De Zerbi ball is almost like a bit like Ange ball. And what I mean by that is the fullbacks invert, they come inside, the switch of play. That's why Fernandes has been brought in, by the way, for that switch of play. But I think the fullbacks could be absolutely key. In my head, I actually see it as Spence and Porro, but a doggy would be fantastic as well. I actually think it could be Spence, but of course you hear a lot of talks of him going away, so there's someone that I don't want to sell as well, but if we do, we're going to get a lot for him because of the World Cup campaign he's just had. So Porro, Kudus, these are a couple of the players. State the obvious, the new signings, Tonali, Fernandes, got to be excited to see. It'd be crazy, I think, if you're not. But this might be a bit boring as well, but Senesi, he's a player that I really liked. If it's down to me, would have paid 40 million for him, but even better for free. So, free agent. So absolute steal, if you ask me. And I think he actually could be a potential starter from Romero. So he could be is the word. I think we'll see a back 3, back 5 at times. It's not going to be a set in stone formation. There'll be set in stone principles, but not a set in stone way of playing. So mistakes learnt maybe from Ange in terms of, yes, the principle's the same, but flex the formation. That's what we all wanted to see at times. So I'm just excited to see the Zerbi ball. But if we focus on individuals, Kudus, Porro, these are just some. I think even Tell, by the way, not necessarily now, but in 6 months, Tell, I'd love to see how far he's come. I think he's going to come a long way. I could go on, Will. I'm really excited for next year, but I'll probably say this every year. But this year does feel different, he says.
I have to agree with you on Pedro Porro, because yes, his first season he was adapting because he's never, he was at Man City, but he never played in the Premier League. Went to Lisbon, had a great, time at Lisbon, came to us, and I think the first season was him adapting. Second season, I think he had a great season, but after that, I think when it comes to defending, we like to look at individuals a lot, but our whole team couldn't defend for love nor money. So, when it comes down to it, instead of saying, I think especially like in football, we always have to pass the blame on somebody. So instead of it being like the whole team's poor at defensive from the top to the bottom, and we need to talk about a structure, a lot of the time you just go, well, yeah, Pedro Porro is the scapegoat. He's been absolutely poor, And I think
you make a great point.
Yeah, when Pedro Porro was having his better seasons, he was a great defender, great in 1v1 challenges, and then bombing on and coming up with assists, etc. So I think again under De Zerbi, I think he's going to love it, and we're going to see both sides to his game.
Agree. Joe, I totally agree with you. And I think like as well, back four of Romero, Van der Ven, Doggy and Porro. Don't tell me that's a bad back four, and they conceded so many goals. Romero and Van der Ven, whatever you think of them, I know Romero's not popular for many different reasons right now, but he's a good defender. Whether he's reliable or not, or a captain material is a whole different question. But he's close to, if he's not already, a world-class defender. But the point is, for me, is also a lot of it is about the defense have trust in the goalkeeper. Does the goalkeeper have trust in the defence? Neither of those things were there, by the way. I don't think with Vicario, I don't think they ever have been, really, apart from when he maybe first joined. The midfield as well, are they offering protection to the defence? No, I don't think they are. Wolf Fernandes and Tonali, yes. And that's the thing. And also, if you have a good forward line, people forget about this, and I could be wrong about it. I'm not a tactician, but I'm thinking if the forward line's good, you have more of the ball, you're going to attack more, takes the pressure off the rest of the team. Whereas I think we've seen a really, to put it nicely, dire attack at times. Of course, not when Son came here. I'm talking post that era, post that time. And we've just seen us retreat defensively, had defensive managers. You put pressure on the defence. So when you're sitting back for 75, 85% of the game, then you are going to concede more goals. Look at England against Argentina. The more we sat back, conceded 2 goals. Don't tell me you can see 2 goals and we go for it. You don't know, but you assume not. So that's the thing. I just think personally that we're actually going to concede very, very few goals. And this is an attacking manager. It will surprise some people, but we've got that protection, Fernandes and Tonali. And Fernandes and Tonali improve you offensively and defensively. That's why it's so exciting. Dropping at 185 million as well, by the way. I mentioned it a few times tonight. I'll say it again on that midfield duo. It's incredible. And clubs are jealous. It sends shockwaves, right? It's not Tottenham are going to win the league, but it's that Tottenham are back and we stayed up and hopefully never be in that position again. Hopefully.
Oh, man. I'm loving it, honestly. Loving it, Harry. We're back, baby.
Yeah. We're back.
Anthony, I just wanted to use your coaching expertise, tactician, just to give us a bit of intel on what you think about Jed Spence's Squad Cup, because I think it's been phenomenal. And what will he bring to Spurs next season?
Jed Spence, when I think about Jed Spence, I think about his ups and downs from the beginning. So there's a lot of managers saying that he has an attitude issue, and maybe that is the case. Obviously, I don't work with him on a daily. He's then broken to the Tottenham, whether you want to believe it or not, he's broken to the Tottenham team by maybe a bit of luck, good fortune, because of the injury crisis we were going through. But he's then got into the team and held down a space. He's held down his place. And he broke into the England team. He got himself into the England team. A lot of people, again, didn't believe he should be there. He's a right back who can play left back, and he's dominated that position. I thought O'Reilly was going to probably play a lot more games as that left back, but Jed Spence has been tremendous. And, it's gone from a tournament of, Thomas Tuchel's berating him on the sideline and to that massive tackle he made against, I think it was Simeone? He made that last-ditch challenge, and that was like going 1-0 up. And that's what we want to see. And I think what Jed's going to offer us next season is, with his massive, his massive amount of pace, I think that's going to help us in terms of breaking lines. With his defensive capabilities and recovery runs, he's a hard person to beat in 1v1 duels. So, when we look at that squad in depth, we look at Pedro Porro, we all know he's got great attacking capabilities in terms of his crossing. He's got pinpoint crossing, accuracy, etc. Jed hasn't necessarily got that. But I always call them like the defenders they're like in reverse. So Jed's very, very, very good at defending. Pedro Porro is very, very good at attacking. I think that depth to our squad is going to be great. Jed, again, yeah, I think where he used to play as a winger, growing up in the past, I think with the Zerbi's style, if he's playing enough minutes, I think eventually he will start to contribute in terms of scoring goals in the forward line. I'm not turning around and saying he's going to be like banging in at 10 goals and nothing like that. But even if he's leaving with 3 or 4 assists and 3 or 4 goals, I think that's an improvement from the previous season. I think obviously him going back to his natural place of right back, I think we will see a lot more better of him. Him playing at left back is great, but the issue is obviously defending. Naturally, he's always going to sort of want to turn inside. And if he's got the ball, if he loses it, it's in the direction of the goal. So that becomes a problem. And obviously, when we're attacking, it's great because he gets up to that byline. But the issue is he always has to cut back onto his right foot. I think in that game against Argentina, I think I saw him cross once with his left. But, if he could use both feet, it would be great for him. But I think he'll go back to his natural position of right back. And I think he's just going to add a lot of competition and a lot of strength along that right-hand side, obviously, with Mohamed Kudus, obviously on his way back, a partner for him on the right-hand side, and, who knows, potentially Savino, etc.
Yeah. And also for the World Cup semi-finals, we've had 4 of our 4 Tottenham players in the semis. So Harry Scarfe, give this to you. Do you think it's a coincidence they're all defenders? Or what?
Listen, whatever I say, people go, yeah, but look at the amount of goals we conceded. But that goes back to my point. If they're a big thing is the manager, right? A huge thing is the manager, because look at the Spain back line, right? Cucurella conceded. It was part of a back line that conceded so many goals for Chelsea, and the same with Porro for us with Tottenham, right? And you look at the Spain back line, it's decent. Don't get me wrong, but that 1 or 2 goals that they've conceded this tournament, it's down to, for me, really good coaching, and then it's what you've got in front of you. So my point is, these Spurs defenders that are conceding nothing pretty much for their country, but conceded so many for us, all of a sudden they're going to have I think Kinski's an upgrade on Vicario. I know we haven't signed Kinski, but we're just promoting him. They have more confidence there, because there's got to be a trust. I mean, Anthony, far more than me, but I'd imagine there's got to be a trust between the goalkeeper and the back line that probably works both ways. But you've got to trust each other, I think, and have some kind of relationship. But also it's what you have in front, because that midfield doesn't protect you. I just assume that, defence has to do more, etc., etc. So, no, maybe it's not a surprise, William, but I think what it does tell you is that our attack isn't good enough because we've got no attacking players there. Right? It's as simple as that. And, for me, the best attacking player, or one of the best in the tournament, is no longer ours, and he left us because ultimately I don't think we're delivering for him, and that is Harry Kane. Boy, I'd love to see him back, but I won't even go down that route. Maybe it's not a surprise, William, right? But I'm going to think we're going to concede far less goals, which is great, because if you just look at the averages, the goals we've conceded, hundreds and hundreds, literally, across the last 2 or 3 seasons. I mean, that has to end, because if you concede, our average is conceding 2.3 goals a game. I mean, you just set yourself up to really not win the game, even if we don't say lose. It's not good. I'm not saying let's defend, but let's get that down. And for me, you're right to mention it. And they've all been good. Porro's smashed it. Whatever you think, Romero smashed it too. Spence smashed it. Unfortunately now out, but he's been incredible. Either way, Spurs player wins it. So there we go. What can I say?
Yeah. Anything to add, Anthony?
Yeah. No, you're right, Harry. When it comes down to it, the goalkeeper and the backline need to be in sync. There is a partnership between that. And if the backline and the goalkeeper don't get along, you will notice it pretty quickly. And that would be simple things like passing the ball back to the goalkeeper. If you watch a game and the defenders, when they're put under pressure, won't pass back to the goalkeeper, and they're just going, I'm just going to go long every time, you know that there's an issue, because they do not trust their goalkeeper to have the ball at their feet. And there's numerous times you've probably seen that as Tottenham fans with Vicario and our backline, where we'd rather maybe try and play out of trouble rather than playing back to the goalkeeper, etc. Because we know that Vicario, he's not the greatest with the ball at his feet. You know, maybe if we're pushed up further up the field and we play the ball back, maybe we go, all right, we'll pass it back because there's a bit of time. But the partnership between goalkeeper and his back line, it is crucial. It is absolutely crucial. And that can be a massive fail in itself if it's not working, if it's not functioning.
Thank you for that.
Yeah. Well, I think that kind of wraps up the debut episode. We've kind of gone through it in thorough detail of everything. So if anyone wants to add anything, we can call it a day.
Check it out, check it.